Welcome to the Be More Connected podcast, a space where healers, artists, and entrepreneurs cultivate the courage, creativity, and community to make their boldest visions a reality. I'm your host, Elyse Preston, soulful business coach, community builder, and human design guide. Here, we explore the intersections of creativity, spirituality, and conscious business, helping you to grow your vision with courage, devotion, and care. Take a deep breath. You're exactly where you're meant to be. Hello, hello. It feels so exciting and honestly a little unfamiliar to be sitting back in front of the mic again after more than 2 years. I was checking my podcast hosting platform the other day, and I saw that my last episode went live in August of 2023. And wow, so much has changed since then. There's so much that's changed inside of me, inside of my business, and definitely in the world around us. And as I was reflecting on my experience of podcasting a few years ago, I was just remembering that there was something that felt so satisfying about creating a podcast episode that I felt really proud of, like one where I was really coherently and fluently putting together interesting ideas that were my own. And something that's so wild is that I forgot about how satisfying it was to be in the space of podcasting with the space, the time, the distance. I was attuning more to the things that felt difficult about podcasting, the editing, research, formulating ideas, and that kept me away from podcasting for far longer than I would have liked. I was only, planning on taking a brief hiatus, but I'm glad to be back here. And something that's just so wild is that being a creative and sharing vulnerably absolutely activates many of our fears. But something that I want to make sure that I'm talking about more and emphasizing more in my work is that it also brings forward so much energy and so much aliveness and so much joy. As a coach and as a community builder, I think I do talk a lot about how entrepreneurship requires courage, how oftentimes it is a spiritual and emotional initiation. And all of that is still true. But I also want to emphasize how fun and again, like satisfying and fulfilling it can feel to stretch beyond what's comfortable for us and to step into that unknown and mysterious space of creation. And that's where I've been over the last month or so as I've been stepping back into podcasting. It's been this space of stretching, of challenging myself, of creating in a way that I haven't in a few years. And it feels like I'm emerging from just a long winter season in my business into a much warmer and more supportive spring. And I'm so excited to be sharing more about that in this Crossing the Threshold series on the podcast. But before we dive into the new series, I want to share a little bit about the energy of this podcast and what this space is really all about. So, as I shared in the intro, the Be More Connected podcast is for healers, artists, and entrepreneurs who want to grow something beautiful and true. It's about cultivating the courage, creativity, and community to bring your boldest visions to life without burning out and without losing yourself along the way. And in each episode, we're going to explore grounded wisdom and soulful strategy to help you to grow your business in ways that feel joyful and sustainable and uniquely aligned to you. We'll be asking some big questions like, what does it really mean to be more connected as a business owner? And how might we build successful businesses without replicating the same old extractive systems that we've seen in the world around us? And how do we create networks of reciprocity and care where we can give generously without draining ourselves and extracting from ourselves? And we're also going to get into some more of the energetic and emotional components of being a creative and being a business owner, exploring questions like, what if you could move past fear and people pleasing and perfectionism and express your creative vision with more joy and ease? And what if you didn't have to do all of this alone, but had or could create a community that celebrated and supported you along your journey? This podcast is here for all of that. And it's here for the moments when you need courage or clarity or a reminder about how important your work is and how much it matters. It's for creative souls ready to move from burnout to sustainability, from chaos to clarity, from self-censorship to bold, authentic expression, and from lone wolf syndrome to deep, nourishing connection. To kick off this new season, we're beginning with an 8-week series called Crossing the Threshold. And I'm so excited about this, you guys. This series is an invitation to step into 2026 with more creativity, courage, and power. As we conclude 2025, we are wrapping up a universal 9-year in numerology and transitioning into a universal 1 year in 2026. This is all about moving from endings to new beginnings and working with these energetics of release and renewal. So over these 8 weeks, we'll prepare ourselves, our bodies, our minds, our souls, and our businesses to really be ready to receive the expansion that is available for us in the new year. And you'll notice that the approach here is both nurturing and empowering, that there'll be opportunity for accountability, but also reminders about self-nurturance and self-love and self-care. This is not about rushing, it's not about forcing, and it's not about trying to muscle ourselves into a shape of some kind of perfect version of what we think our successful self needs to be or needs to look like. But it's really about softening. It's about creating space. It's about being honest. And it's about clearing what no longer fits so that we can truly allow for something new to emerge and take root. Right now, I'm reading Spirits Come From Water by Iheme Ora. And for anyone who's interested in getting a really beautiful introduction to African spirituality and exploring ancestral veneration, I highly, highly recommend this book. And it's been fun reading this alongside working on the podcast episodes for this Crossing the Threshold series. There's just so much that I've been feeling so nourished by and loving about reading this book. But there's also specifically a passage that I've been thinking about that's in the 3rd chapter, where she writes about how much wisdom we can gain from witnessing the natural world move through different seasons and cycles. And I wanted to offer this up here in this first episode of this series. So I'm going to read this to you and then we'll continue. She writes, "When we examine the earth, the woes of our existence are no longer shrouded in mystery. During season changes, we see the wilting of flowers and leaves, a harnessing of energy shifting down to its roots as it braces for its winter. The oak tree does not give up when its leaves transform into hues of red and orange. It does not catastrophize, nor does it grieve the loss of all things. The oak tree does not spiral into a web of anxiety or confusion. Instead, it rests, it waits, it breathes, surrendering itself to the crisp air that swims around its branches. The oak tree does not fight against the universe's call for stillness. It does not yearn for a life beyond autumn. Instead, the roots of an oak tree strengthen themselves underground with patience. Decades of wisdom have nurtured the oak tree with faith. This moment of dying is not forever. Soon, birds will arrive with nested children, and the atmosphere will warm itself again. All seasons change. Life provides us with one singular promise: impermanence. When we study nature, we obtain greater knowledge on how to cope through transitory periods that might attempt to drown us. Everything passes in the end. Wow, reading that out loud just hit even deeper than when I read it quietly to myself. And it's such a needed reminder for me, and maybe for you too, that change really is the only constant. The cycles of shedding, releasing, death, and rebirth, they're not things that we're meant to fear or resist, but they're actually signs of life and signs that energy is moving, that growth is continually happening for us beneath the surface. And what really landed for me is that shedding, dying, release, right? These things are not a regression as we oftentimes perceive them to be in our conscious mind or in our human experience, but that they're actually preparation, that they're a reflection of this deeper rooting that's happening, the unseen strengthening that happens underground before new life emerges. And when I look back at these last 2 years, that's exactly what now, in hindsight, I can see that this season has been about. It's been a deep strengthening of my roots. And now I'm also really starting to recognize that in my coaching work and in my community building, I feel so called to support others with coming home to themselves and their inner wisdom, to feel more grounded in who they are, and to grow from a place that is more deeply rooted and steady and true. When I think about it, all that root work, all that deep tending below the surface, I can recognize now how it's shaped me in ways I couldn't have planned for. And it kind of felt like the universe was saying, okay, Elyse, all these ways that you've been operating up until this point, they're not going to work anymore. It's time to grow. It's time to evolve. And I'm going to offer up some experiences to help you do that. And I've definitely had so many moments of feeling frustrated and stuck and discouraged and confused and overwhelmed. I've had so many experiences and just like so many experiments that did not go the way that I'd hoped. But through it all, I stayed devoted and I found ways to wrap myself with different layers of self-care and self-love, and also community connection and community support, spiritual connection and spiritual support. And that's what has really bolstered me over these last 2 years. And it's helped me to really land in a deeper place of knowing and trust that growth, especially soulful creative growth, comes from continuing to show up, from receiving feedback, and from staying in the practice of experimentation and iteration. Every disappointment, every hard conversation, every ego death, it all helped me expand my awareness and align more deeply with my truth. And I've been learning to grip less tightly to expectations and outcomes, and to trust the universe and my ancestors that they're always guiding me towards what's right for me. I've been letting go of so many old identities and patterns that don't fit anymore. And even though it's been wildly uncomfortable, I am now landing in a place of gratitude because I do feel so grateful for the lessons, and also so grateful for everyone who's walked alongside me through this transformation. I definitely want to give a big, big shout out to my husband, who's been my steady source of support and love and grounding. And I also want to give a huge shout out to Rachel Maddox and the Business Witchery community. I think I've been in almost every one of the Business Witchery programs that she's led over the last 2 years. And they've just supported my personal and my business growth tremendously. And I'm just so grateful for that space. I've also been working with a somatic experiencing practitioner. Shout out to Olivia Klein of Full Circle Healing. And I've been working with a few energy healers and diving into ancestral remembrance work, all of which has stretched me beyond what I thought was possible. And again, like just introduced me to these deeper, truer layers of my being. So, if I could summarize 2024 and 2025 in one phrase, I think it would be like wildly uncomfortable and deeply liberating. There's been so much release, so many tears, and from what I've been hearing and seeing from my clients and friends, I know that I am definitely not the only one who has been having these kinds of powerful evolutionary experiences. These past few years have been such a powerful initiation for so many of us. And life has been gently, and oftentimes not so gently, waking us up to new levels of awareness and truth. And as consciousness continues to rise on the planet, I'm excited to see what's to come, because something that astrology and human design are really predicting and showing us is possible for us as a human family is that a lot of the things that once seemed really mystical or rare are actually going to become really normal and commonplace. It's predicted that our sensitivity is going to become stronger, our intuition is going to become sharper, and things like telepathy are going to become more normalized. And we're starting to feel some more of the invisible threads that connect us to one another through energy and emotion and intention, that we're going to realize how much power we truly hold when we live in deeper alignment with ourselves and our awareness and our energy system. And this really excites me. This really excites me for the future. But one of the things that we're really feeling right now that feels really challenging is that as our sensitivity gets stronger and our intuition gets sharper, it's harder for us to stay in toxic jobs or limiting relationships in the ways that maybe past versions of ourselves felt like we could. We actually had a little bit more numbness or ways that we were able to muscle through these kinds of circumstances on the planet that were not in alignment or not in integrity for us. And as consciousness continues to raise and we continue to become more sensitive and intuitive as beings, it's going to be so much harder for us. It's going to take so much more of a toll on our energy and our physical health and our mental health. We're not going to be able to do it anymore. And so it's really hard to be in this transitory time where the shedding and the release and the change is happening. But I do believe that ultimately it is going to be for our highest and our best. And it's going to support us with living on the planet and relating to each other in so much more like deep and true and harmonious ways. The system of human design talks about how we're entering a new energetic cycle on the planet starting in 2027. And I believe that these experiences that we're having are all preparation, that we're all being attuned little by little for this new paradigm that's coming, this collective shift towards deeper interconnection and authenticity and a capacity to share more of our gifts with each other. And I'll be diving deeper into this new paradigm conversation in a future episode. But for now, just wanted to offer this introduction and to also remind you and let you know that your sensitivity is seeking to support you, that it's sacred, and it's a sign that you're evolving and that you're exactly where you're meant to be. As we move through these changing times, both personally and collectively, this pace of change doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. And that's going to require us to take care of ourselves, to take care of those around us, to continue to deepen into our roots and to get stronger, to get clear on our values, and to fortify ourselves for the years ahead. And though these times may challenge us and will probably continue to break our hearts in different ways, I'm really choosing to keep my eyes on the things that are also emerging that feel really, really promising. And the fact that we're remembering our creative power and our connection to something greater, and also tapping into our capacity to shape the world around us through our values and through our actions is so incredibly beautiful to see and to witness. And I think that this is really the heart of our work at this time. Not striving for perfection, but really deepening into presence and action, rooting deeper into who we are and what truly matters to us. Not worrying so much about appearances or making sense to everyone, but getting really committed to making an impact in the places that are within our reach, that feel in alignment for us, tending to the soil of our lives so that we can grow what's next from a place of expanded vision and possibility and care. And so today, before we close, I want to invite you to pause, to check in with yourself, and to reflect on the season that you're in and who your business is calling you to become. Each week in this 8-week series, I'll leave you with what I'm going to call a next level nudge, which includes a few prompts or an activity to help you integrate what we explore in the weekly episode. So today, I'd love to invite you to reflect on the 3 following questions. The first is, what practices help you to feel more steady, strong, and rooted? The second is, what experiences have you been framing as a regression or a failure that might actually be carrying some deep wisdom waiting to be revealed? And the third is, how might you integrate that wisdom, not just for yourself, but as a gift that you can pass forward? And so I'd love to invite you to let these questions move through you. You can journal on them, walk with them, bring them into conversation with people you trust, and reminding yourself that sometimes growth doesn't look like progress on the outside, but that doesn't devalue the significance of the healing, the liberation, the growth, and transformation that is taking place beneath the surface. If you're feeling like you're ready to embrace a bigger vision for yourself and your business in 2026, I'd love to invite you into vision casting. This January, we'll gather for a month-long journey to dream and design your business year ahead through intuitive planning, creative strategy, and aligned action. Together, we will cast our 2026 visions, let our body lead the way, and weave soul and strategy into our powerful plans. So by the end of our 4 weeks together, you'll have a clear, embodied roadmap for the year ahead, one that you will genuinely feel excited about bringing to life. If you're interested in joining vision casting or learning more, you can check out the link in my show notes or visit ElysePreston.com. And I wanted to let you know that early bird pricing is available through December 1st, and we will be kicking off. The program will be beginning on January 13th. So excited to have this opportunity to connect and vision and dream together. Thank you so much for joining me for this first episode of the Crossing the Threshold series. If today's conversation spoke to you, please share it with a friend who's also walking this creative and spiritual path, or leave a quick review to help others find their way here. You can explore all upcoming offerings at ElysePreston.com and connect with me on Instagram at IamElysePreston. Until next time, trust your timing, honor your process, and remember, you are so much more connected than you think.